Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Investor Talk Show, where we uncover the stories, strategies, and secrets of South Africa's most inspiring property investors, real estate professionals, and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Neil Peterson, and today's guest calls himself an aggressive property investor who owns more than 110 beds, and he's also a real estate agent with Century 21 in Potchefstroom. That's in the Northwest Province. And he's carved out a niche selling student accommodation as investments while building his own portfolio at the same time. And in just 1 year, he's closed 66 property deals and already has become a self-made millionaire and now focuses on helping other investors to find profitable deals. Micheal Brink, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Neil. I appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for having me on. Looking forward to it.
Absolute pleasure. So, Micheal, maybe take us back to the beginning, of your story. What inspired you to get into property, and how did you make your very first purchase happen?
Okay, so Neil, I never planned to be a property investor. I came here into Potchefstroom to do my studies, got my degree, and I started just to work here, finding my feet. Now, I remember in 2019, my girlfriend back then, which is my wife today, she bought me a book when I was on my way to do the Two Oceans half marathon, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I remember I read that book, and it really stirred something in me, awakened something in me, where I realized, okay, yes, property is a powerful investment tool. And I just realized I wanted to be financially free and build something strong for myself as well. And then later that year, there was I think it was an event from Success Resources, where Robert Kiyosaki himself was here in South Africa with a bunch of other business speakers and motivational speakers, and I attended that event. And at that event again, it really stirred something in me to say, okay, I want to do something with my life. I want to be successful as well in business, in property, whatever my hand finds to do. And then at the end of 2019, or beginning 2020, COVID happened. But I had this desire, okay, I want to buy property now, but my income back then was not strong enough. So it isn't like that I qualified for a good loan from the banks. But the desire was there. So when COVID came, I remember I was at home and my cousin gave me a call the one day. I think this was about in ending of April, beginning of May 2020. And my cousin gave me a call. He said he has an interview for himself at a telesales company, and he thinks the product that we're selling is like drones, the drones that fly in the air. He said he can get an interview for me as well. And I thought, okay, that's not really what I want to do with my life, but it is COVID. I don't have much else to do, so think it's good skill to learn is to, go into telesales, learn how to sell over the phone, just to sharpen myself a bit. And went for the interviews. We both end up getting a job there. And then I started in telesales, and that job went really better than expected. And that's where the opportunity came from me when I started to earn my first good salary. I think I had like three months of good paychecks. And then I knew, okay, I can qualify for a bank loan. Now, back then I was in telesales, so I just knew I wanted to invest in property. And I knew a guy that was a real estate agent. And I told him, look, I'm looking to buy a property here closer to the end of the year. If you can find me a deal, please let me know. Now, back then, my standard was if I can just find a deal that breaks even, cash flow wise. If the property pays off himself, then I would be happy. And then he came with a proposal to me, and he said, okay, this is gonna like max out your affordability. I have a deal for you. You need to do like a 30-year loan. We need to go borrow some money from other people, but it's a student house. But it works on the NSFAS concept. Now back then, the NSFAS student houses was relatively new in Potchefstroom. So it was not a big market that a lot of people tapped into. So back then you were able to buy properties at good prices that made amazing returns. And I remember him showing me the deal, and he said, if all goes well, then you can make like a positive cash flow of about 20,000 Rand per month with the student house. And I don't know anything about student housing, what's the requirements, how it works. I just saw, okay, if this is true what this guy is saying, it feels like it's too good to be true. But I just told him I'm all in, let's do it. I thought worst case scenario, even if it goes wrong, we'll break even per month cash flow wise. And long story short, we went into that property together. I did the financing on my name. He provided the cash needed for the deal, and the student house was a success, and it actually ended up bringing us a positive cash flow of 20,000 Rand per month. And yeah, that's where it all started for me.
Wonderful. So if we go into student accommodation, it seems that you obviously got into this by accident, but a very good accident. But maybe you should just share, what should investors be aware of when it comes to student housing? Because I mean, it can get quite complex. I mean, these zoning requirements, these NSFAS challenges in terms of getting your rent on time, and very very erratic rental payments. So maybe just share a little bit about that and how you managed to overcome those things.
Challenges, yes. So there's a saying that says ignorance is bliss. So looking back, if I knew all the challenges or the things that I might have faced, it was basically good that I went in unprepared because I learned a lot in it. But if I knew the challenges beforehand, I'm not sure if I would have had the courage to still go forward. But I think with student housing, you need to do research. Number one, in the town that you're in, how student accommodation works, private tenants, how much you can expect, and then NSFAS tenants, how much you can expect. Then you must also see if, I know in different towns and different universities, it works differently. Potchefstroom specifically, NSFAS pays the university, and the university pays the landlords directly through the agency. And with that, the success rate here in Potchefstroom is quite high with collections. So if you're in a town or a city where NSFAS doesn't pay quite reliably, I would stay away. I'll focus on towns where it has a good track record. That's number one. So identify a town or a city where there's a good track record. And then you just need to understand the NSFAS game. So firstly, a student house, it needs certain standards in terms of it needs to be furnished, there needs to be a certain level of security, there needs to be Wi-Fi provided. So all the basic boxes that needs to be ticked, it has an upfront cost. So if you work on, let's say, if you have 10 students in your house, the upfront cost for 10 students is going to be about 100,000 Rand. That's something that you need to be able to raise at 100,000 Rand from either yourself or from an investor or a partner. And then if your house meets all the NSFAS requirements, then it's not that you're making money from day one. NSFAS is very seasonal. So students get placed in the beginning of the year, and then they stay there basically for the rest of the year. So you can't, or you can, but you're going to feel it. And if you buy a property in March and it registers in your name, let's say in June, and it's another 6 months that you need to wait before you can actually place students and start earning from that property. So my timing is the last 6 months of the year is the time to buy student houses, because then the timing is good for when it registers in your name. You don't have to keep it too long before the rental income comes in. Now, in Potchefstroom, the NSFAS payments as well. NSFAS pays for the first time end of March. second time end of May, third time end of July, and then the final payment is end of September. So basically, you're getting your year's rent in portions. So you need to plan cash flow wise. How am I going to get through the first 3 months of the year? And so it's all about planning and managing your cash flow. If you look at the returns year on, I think there's very few investments that beat it. Another thing that I can speak about is that's just the practical side, getting the house ready and managing your cash flow. Each city and town has also their municipality laws and rules and regulations. So most often a property must be rezoned residential free for it to be a student house. So if you're using a normal Res 1 property and use it as a student house, you have a risk that you can get fines and fees from the municipality. What a lot of people do is they buy Res 1 properties, they convert it to a student house, put in students. In that process, they already solve the rezoning process of going from Res 1 to Res 3. That process also takes about 6 months to a year, depending on what town and city you are.
Okay, good. I think there's some really good insights there, good advice, I think, for people that are looking to get into that market. So yeah, you explained a little bit about, how you overcame your funding challenges in your early days. Can you maybe talk about how did your next deal go thereafter? Was it quite easy to come by because you'd fallen into this first deal, came out 20,000 on top? How did you move forward thereafter? Because you're sitting with 110 beds now, right?
Yes, that's correct. So when I bought my first property, the second one was in a partnership with my sister. With that one, I was able to use the positive cash flow from our first property to buy the second one. We got 100% loan. So basically, it was only the attorney fees and the conversion fees that we needed to cover. So the first property was able to cover for the second one. Then when it came to property number 3 and 4, that's where it got a bit challenging, and I researched ways how to basically scale my investment portfolio. And then I realized, okay, number one is I must not buy properties in my own name, rather buy it in a company structure. So I set up a company to buy property just to have that affordability that's not limiting me. And then I look at the first properties and I knew, okay, the value of them actually increased. And I heard there's a thing that you can do, you can actually refinance a property. So Neil, you obviously know how it works, but just for the audience sake, if you buy a property for 1 million rand and the bank sees the value as 1.5 million rand, you can actually go and borrow 500,000 rand from your first or second property. And that's exactly what I did for the up and coming deals. I used the properties that I had, refinanced them, and got the money for the next deals. That's just one thing that I used. I approached my father and family members to borrow money from them. Before I knew about actually refinancing, I did a personal loan at the banks, which was quite a mistake because the interest rate was eating me quite hard. And then also I made deals with people that do the conversions for me of the property. So let's say the renovations and conversions is about 200,000 rand. I told the people, okay, I'll pay you basically 6 months to 12 months later. Then I set up a structure of interest. I'll pay them back, let's say the original invoice plus 20%, but it's going to be 6 months later. But then I knew I can use the positive cash flow of that property over the next 6 months in order to pay for that invoice. So there was creative ways in doing it so that I can basically scale the portfolio that I now have.
So Micheal, I mean, you're 29 years old. I mean, am I correct? You're 29.
Yeah,
it is 29. Yeah. So you're in your 20s. So I mean, if you had to break it down into a single roadmap, And, you've got other investors who are looking at this now. I mean, can you maybe just share what are the key steps to successfully investing, particularly into student accommodation that you're doing so well with?
Okay, so I'll just a basic that I think everyone must have is if you have a high income skill, whether it's sales, graphic designing, engineering, I think every person should have a high income skill so that you can earn a decent salary. With that salary, it will open doors for you at the bank so that you can actually borrow money to buy investments, like student houses, for example. So I'll say if you're still young and starting out, is just the number one thing before you invest in property is invest in yourself, like books, courses, whatever it is that you want to do, like identify a need and develop yourself so that you have a high income skill. That high income skill obviously will open doors for you so that you can earn a decent salary. With that decent salary, you will have affordability from the banks. And then you can start investing in properties with that affordability that you have from the banks. Then the other thing is I think people need to be not scared to take risks. I think I've seen many people lose out on deals because either they're too slow and they don't take the investment and somebody else gets it. That's what I see as an agent when I present deals to people. And then they're basically they regret the decision that comes too late. So my number one piece of advice will be rather be fast and take an opportunity that you are too slow and you miss out on an opportunity. Like I said, ignorance is bliss. Sometimes it's a good thing because you take hold of opportunities and you learn from it. I remember you said, Neil, that if you fail, you fail forward. So the worst thing is that can happen. You can maybe burn your fingers a bit. It's a wrong deal, but actually you learn valuable lessons from it, and the way forward will be much better because you actually learned a few lessons. So my advice is will be to be quick. Don't be scared. Take the risk. The worst that can happen is you burn your fingers and you move on to the next deal.
I think great advice there. Wonderful advice. So you spoke earlier on. I mean, you've done a few deals with your father. I think you mentioned your sister, but also you had somebody renovating your property where you did a deal with. So I want to talk a little bit about the power of a team. I mean, you built a team around your investments because I call them a team. Whether they're financiers or whatever. So what kind of support structures would or should every investor in student accommodation have, and why?
Okay, so I'll say what I have that makes my life much easier. In the beginning, I was trying to do everything myself and was costing me a lot of time, and time is money. So I got a personal assistant that helps me. So she's a wonderful lady. She helps me as a real estate agent, but also with the investment property. So if there's any maintenance problems or property related problems, it goes to her. She helps me to deal with them. So I don't have to worry about this plumbing problem over here or this tenant over here is unhappy or anything like that. I have someone that basically handles that, and so it doesn't take any of my time. I don't start that way, but I'll say if your property portfolio grows to such a way to get an assistant that their job is to help you manage that and the problems that come with it. The second thing that I have is I have a fixed guys for maintenance that's available on short notice. So I have a general guy who can do electric, plumbing, general maintenance. And with a student house, you have your maintenance issues. So there's a toilet there that's broken or tap is leaking or the fridge needs to be replaced. There's a person that's one call away. I've negotiated with him that he gives me like discount or special fees because I'm using him on a constant basis, month after month after month. So that's a relationship that I have. I said, I will stick just to you and I'll give you continual work, but I want a special discount as well. So that's a handyman, basically, assistant. And then I give all the rental work of placing students, managing students to the agency where I work as well as Century 21. just so that I don't. Property for me is still an investment. It's not my full-time job or part-time job. It's just a aggressive investing tool that I'm using now to build wealth. So basically, as a good agency, a handyman, and an assistant, with those three people or entities helping me, it helps me to grow and scale without it taking too much of my time.
Okay, so just to clarify, you're doing your own property management right now.
Yeah, so if there's a problem, the problem comes to my assistant. She has all the contacts of people who can do the repairs. She calls them, arranges. Then to fix it, she pays them. Oh, that whole system is in place, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Great. So let's talk about mistakes and lessons because I've made lots of mistakes myself. So, I mean, every investor makes mistakes. But I mean, have you, I mean, you're still young, but, what's your advice? I mean, what's been your biggest misstep in property and how did you turn it around into a learning opportunity? If you've had one.
There's not big mistakes that I'm regretting, but I'll say the number one thing is firstly is buying property in my own name, because you can only get so much loans from the banks connected to your personal name that at the end of the day it limits your growth. So some of the properties that I built on my personal name, I also like flipping properties, so I added value to it. Some of those properties I sold, I had a profit from them and I reinvested that profit into new properties. But looking back, it would not be necessary to sell those properties if I did it in a company structure where I register a company and I have a trust, or I'm the shareholder of that company, and that company is the vehicle that basically buys the properties. So that's a mistake. If I could go back in time, I would just register companies and use that to buy the properties. The number one. And then number two is a bit of more due diligence when it comes to the rental agreements that's in place when you buy a property. I remember the one property had a rental agreement in place for longer than for basically it was 2 or 3 years, and the tenant did not want to move out after being given notice, and she approached attorneys, and basically a rental agreement comes above a sales agreement in South Africa. So it took a lot of negotiating and speaking and headaches to actually get the tenant to leave at the end of the day. So I'll always check the current rental agreements that's in place and how easy is it for you to get access to that property and start doing the renovations. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Okay, what you haven't spoken about, I mean, we've touched on it, and I mean, you are an estate agent for Century 21, and I think 1 year you sold, is it 66 properties or something like that, which is quite an incredible record. Tell us a little bit about that, your estate agent, because you've now got this high income job, as you say, where you so maybe just share a little bit about that side, because it's very close to your investments, which I think you positioned yourself very well.
Yes. So when I bought my first property, it was through a estate agent, and their job looked nice to me. I thought, okay, I like sales, I like what they're doing, but it was 100% commission. So I thought, okay, it's going to take 3 to 6 months before I actually get my first paycheck. And not being, I think I was married on a young age, so I had a lot of responsibility. So it was not like I could just say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to be a real estate agent, but that desire was there. And I remember with the second property I did with my sister, there was not like good agents that I was exposed to help me. And I thought, okay, I can do a better job. I would like to be an agent that can actually help people with investments, and I have a passion for it myself. And my excuse that time was always just here in Potchefstroom, there's a lot of agents. I think there's over 100 real estate agents, and it's not a big town.
No.
And so I was always mentioning it to my wife, I want to go into real estate as an agent, but I never took action. Then I remember we were driving in the car one day, and she just said, you've been speaking about it so long. Why don't you just do the move and make sure that you're the best agent? Then you don't have to worry about how many agents there are. And then basically, I got an opportunity, made the plans, and I think it was middle 23 years back, basically middle 2022. I started as a real estate agent. Um, I had a lot of sales experience, so I just used my sales experience, and I wanted to dominate as an agent here in Poch. So the first year went quite well. Second year went even better. And then last year, which was 2024, I did an exact calculation, was 67 sales as a real estate agent. Um, that obviously gave me a huge boost in income and then as in affordability as well from the bank so that I can buy more properties. And now this year, so far, having a great year. The market is good for me. Some agents say the market is slow, some agents say it's good, but I'm experiencing the good side of it. So I'm grateful therefore. But yeah, with my job, I get to do what I love in terms of I get to help property investors. I do residential sales as well. I get to work in property, what I'm passionate about. And it also gives me the opportunity when there's a good deal so that I can get good deals for myself basically first. It sounds a bit unfair, but each job has its own perks. So I'll say my standard has changed where I'm not going after good deals anymore. I'm really going after great deals so that when I actually go for a deal, I make sure it's a deal that makes sense 200%, not average deals or average good deals. It's actually great deals that I only go for now.
That's wonderful. So, Micheal, tell us, what's next for you in your property journey? I mean, how do you see the future property investing evolving in South Africa?
Yeah, so I'll say the next thing, each year at the end of the year, I like to set out goals for myself and I plan my year ahead. And then it feels like each year it takes a different turn and I have like this goal's X, Y, and Z. And then when I look back again, my life turned out a bit different, but in a better way. So making specific goals sometimes is, you don't know what opportunities are coming, you don't know what doors are opening up. But for the part that's in my control, I want to improve as a real estate agent, making more sales, better sales each year, helping more people, serving my clients to the best of my ability. As an investor, I want to grow my portfolio. Jaco said that Jaco Grobler said every 3 years to double your portfolio. So I think that's a good measurement or goal to stick to. So for me, it is when there's a deal that makes sense and it's a great deal, I want to buy it. Whether I have the money or not, I'll sign the OTP, get an approval, and then I'll make plans how to finance the deal. And that's my biggest plan. It's just to grow the portfolio, serve my clients as an agent, and see what doors open up from there.
Awesome. Micheal, thank you for sharing your wisdom, your energy, and your experience with us today. I mean, your journey proves that age is no barrier when it comes to building wealth through property. It's all about mindset, action, and strategy. And to our viewers, if you're feeling inspired, this is your sign to take that first step. Rewatch this episode, you take notes, start mapping out your own path to financial freedom. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, I'm Neil Peterson alongside Micheal Brink. And stay bold, stay curious, and keep investing smart.